In the summer of 1974, 3 miles beneath the empty waters of the North Pacific, a 600-foot steel claw closed around the shattered hull. Pull 3 nuclear ballistic missiles and Moscow's naval codebooks codebooks directly off the ocean floor. To keep the Kremlin blind, the Central Intelligence Agency created one of the most audacious deceptions in modern history, convincing the world that an eccentric American billionaire was merely mining rocks from the seabed. The story began on March 8, 1968. Roughly 1,500 miles northwest of Oahu, Hawaii, a diesel-electric Gulf II-class Soviet submarine, designated K-129, slipped beneath the waves on a routine combat patrol. Inside were 98 Soviet officers and enlisted men, along with 3 R-21 ballistic nuclear missiles capable of striking American coastal cities. At approximately midnight, catastrophic internal explosions tore through the vessel. The submarine plunged 16,500 feet into the pitch-black abyssal plain of the Pacific Ocean. In Moscow, Soviet naval commanders realized their ship was missing when scheduled radio check-ins failed. The Soviet Pacific Fleet dispatched over 40 naval vessels and dozens of aircraft, crisscrossing the ocean in an aggressive search operation. For 2 months, Soviet ships dropped depth chargers and ran sonar swerps across hundreds of thousands of square miles. But they were searching in the wrong place. Soviet Naval Command lacked deep ocean acoustic tracking, and by May 1968, they abandoned the search, declaring the submarine and its crewmen lost. The Americans, however, knew precisely where the ship died. Hidden beneath the world's oceans was the United States Navy sound surveillance system, known as SOSUS, an ultra-classified network of underwater hydrophone arrays designed to track Soviet submarines. On March 8, underwater acoustic stations recorded an acoustic signature, followed by a second structural collapse. Naval intelligence analysts calculated the wreck's location to within a 5 nautical mile radius. In late 1968, the United States dispatched the special intelligence submarine USS Halibut to the coordinates. The Halibut was equipped with a remote-controlled deep-towed camera sled capable of operating under immense pressure. Guided by acoustic beacons, the sled glided over the ocean floor and transmitted classified photographs back to the surface. The images revealed K-129 resting upright on the seabed, with the sail, missile tubes, and cryptographic room largely intact. When the photographs reached the Pentagon and the White House, National Security Advisor Henry Kissinger and Central Intelligence Agency Director Richard Helms saw an unprecedented intelligence opportunity. If the United States could salvage the submarine, American codebreakers could decrypt decades of Soviet naval communications. American nuclear weapons designers could examine Soviet warhead metallurgy and guidance systems. President Richard Nixon and the top-secret 40 Committee authorized Project Azorian. The engineering challenge was unlike anything ever attempted. No human operation had ever lifted thousands of tons of steel from 3 miles below the ocean surface. The water pressure at 16,500 feet exceeded 7,000 pounds per square inch, cold enough to freeze hydraulic fluids and dark enough to swallow all light. Traditional cables would snap under their own weight. The recovery vessel would need absolute precision. To pull off the mission, the CIA required a massive civilian front. The agency approached billionaire Howard Hughes, known for his eccentric lifestyle, aviation empire, and appetite for high-risk ventures. Hughes agreed to lease his name and corporate umbrella to the operation. The cover story announced to the world that Hughes was building a revolutionary deep-sea commercial vessel, the Hughes Glomar Explorer, designed to mine valuable manganese nodules from the ocean floor. In 1971, construction began at the Sun Shipbuilding Yard in Pennsylvania. The Hughes Glomar Explorer measured 618 feet in length and displaced over 50,000 tons. At its center was a massive derring and a hidden internal well known as the moon pool. The moon pool was fitted with bottom doors that could open beneath the waterline, allowing the ship to lift the submarine directly inside the hull in complete secrecy. Beneath the ship, engineers designed the capture vehicle, codenamed Clementine. Clementine was an enormous steel mechanical claw weighing over 4 million pounds, equipped with hydraulic capture arms engineered to cradle the submarine's curved hull. To hide Clementine from public view, a massive submersible barge called the HMB-1 was built in Redwood City, California. The barge was submerged offshore, where the Glomar Explorer lifted Clementine inside entirely underwater. Lowering Clementine 3 miles down required a revolutionary engineering feat. Instead of steel cables, the crew used a continuous string of 30-foot heavy steel pipes, thread together one by one through the central derrick. It took days to lower the 3-mile pipe string through the water clyde, section by section, under immense tension, requiring precise computerized thrusters to fight Pacific swells. On July 4, 1974, after years of development and testing, the Hughes Glomar Explorer arrived at the recovery coordinates roughly 1,500 miles northwest of Hawaii. The weather was volatile, with heavy Pacific swells tossing the deck. The crew began the slow, delicate process of assembling the drill strand, lowering Clementine into the deep abyss, monitoring video feeds and acoustic sensors around the clock in total secrecy. The operation was soon interrupted by an uninvited guest. A Soviet naval ocean-going Tud, the Chizuma, appeared on the horizon, followed later by a Soviet naval missile tracking ship. The Soviet commanders were suspicious of Hughes's alleged mining operation, circling the Glomar Explorer and sending small boats close to the hull. American crew members on deck waved casually, keeping the subsea pipe completely hidden below deck. On the seabed, Clementine's searchlights illuminated the rusted steel of K-129. Through closed-circuit monitors, operators manipulated hydraulic thrusters, aligning the massive mechanical fingers with the submarine's hull. On August 1, 1974, the claw made physical contact. The heavy steel tints slid beneath the submarine, locking around the hull as lift mechanisms applied millions of pounds of upward tension. The mud released its grip, and K-129 began its slow ascent. For several days, the heavy pipe strick hoisted the target upward at just a few feet per minute. But at an altitude of approximately 9,000 feet above the seabed, disaster struck. Dishonestisist. The extreme stresses caused several of Clementine's high-strength capture arms to suffer catastrophic metal fatigue. With a sudden shudder, 3 capture arms snapped. Without support, 2/3 of the submarine broke free and plunged back into the abyss, taking the conning hose, ballistic missiles, and codebooks with it. The remaining portion, measuring 38 feet of the forward bow, stayed locked in the surviving claws. The crew continued the slow ascent, pulling the bow through the bottom doors and into the flooded moon pool on August 8, 1974. When engineers drained the moon pock and inspected the wreckage, they found 2 nuclear-armed torpedoes, various mechanical instruments, and the preserved remains of 6 Soviet submariners. Despite the Cold War rivalry and intense secrecy, CIA leadership insisted on treating the fallen sailors with full military dignity, ordering a formal naval burial at sea. On September 4, 1974, the crew held a solemn burial service at sea on the deck of the Glomar Explorer. The remains of the 6 Soviet crewmen were placed in a steel container draped with the Soviet naval ensign and committed to the deep with full honors while the Soviet anthem played. The entire ceremony was recorded on classified film. The CIA immediately began planning a second mission, codenamed Project Matador, to return to the site and retrieve the remaining hull section containing the nuclear missiles and codebooks. Engineers designed reinforced claws to ensure success. But before the mission could receive final authorization, an unexpected event on land shattered the operational cover and triggered a national security crisis. In June 1974, While the Glomar Explorer was at sea, burglars broke into Howard Hughes' corporate headquarters in Los Angeles. The thieves cracked a secure safe, stealing classified documents connecting the Hughes Glomar Explorer directly to CIA covert operations. The Federal Bureau of Investigation launched a high-priority recovery operation, but the theft created an intelligence leak that could not be contained. Details leaked to investigative journalists across the country. In early 1975, despite direct personal appeals from Director of Central Intelligence William Coleman to suppress the story in the interest of national security, the national press broke the story of the submarine heist across front pages worldwide, exposing the $4 billion operation to the entire world. With the cover story blown, and Soviet naval vessels immediately dispatched to patrol the recovery site permanently, the White House officially canceled any further salvage attempts. The exposure created a massive diplomatic storm. The second mission, which was engineered to bring up the Soviet ballistic missiles and the coveted cryptographic codes, was permanently shelved before the ship could ever return to the Pacific. When journalists filed Freedom of Information Act lawsuits demanding all government records on the Glomar Explorer, the CIA crafted a novel legal strategy. The agency stated that it could neither confirm nor deny the existence or non-existence of the requested records. This exact phrase became known as the Glomar response, a permanent fixture of American national security law that remains standard practice in federal courts today. Project Azorian stands as one of the most expensive and technically astonishing covert operations ever executed. The CIA spent over $800 million, equivalent to more than $4 million today, to pull 3 million pounds of steel from the ocean floor. While the mission failed to recover the Soviet codebooks or ballistic missiles, it demonstrated an unprecedented capability to project American power into the deep ocean. The mission revolutionized subsea technology. Project Azorian pioneered modern deep-water dynamic position, robotic subsea manipulation, and heavy-lift ocean engineering. The breakthroughs developed in total secrecy for Clementine and the Glomar Explorer laid the foundational technology for modern offshore energy extraction, deep-sea cable laying, and contemporary ocean exploration. Today, 16,500 feet beneath the rolling Pacific waves, the remaining two-thirds of K-149 still rests in silent darkness. The steel hull, the 3 nuclear missiles, and the unsolved secrets of the Cold War remain locked in the mud, preserved in the freezing, lightless pressure of the deep ocean floor.